Hi guys, welcome to One-on-One Show at AFC Youth Magazine. I'm your host, Laston Samui. This is a show in which we feature prominent and influential members from our youth fellowship. And tonight my guest is Mr. Blessing Kabasa. Mr. Kabasa has served the youth ministry for a period of over 5 years. He started as a branch chairman at Teamwork and rose through the ranks, becoming the Harare Province Youth Secretary. He also ended up serving as the AFC National Youth Vice Secretary in the youth committee that took the reins in 2016. So Mr. Kabasa is now married and is based in Sweden. So we hope that in tonight's show we'll be able to extract as much as possible from his wealth of experience in the youth ministry. Mr. Kabasa, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Larson. It's a privilege to be on this big platform.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy that you found some time to be with us and to share with us your experience. But most importantly, I'm so happy that I find you well in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. Maybe we can start there just to hear from you. I was checking on the news this morning and I noted that the number of cases in Sweden, they have actually risen to 18,177. How are you coping that
side? Thank you very much for asking. I am fine. Everything is okay, and my family too is okay. But having said that, yeah, these are difficult times, and this virus is wreaking havoc. It's taking so many lives, and it's also attacking the economy of different nations with violent virulence. But in the midst of the ongoing storm, all we can do is to pray to God for his intervention and protection, and also to take the recommended precautionary steps so that we try to stay healthy. And yeah, but above and all, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, that's nice to hear, Mr. Kabasa. So generally, in Sweden, I understand right now we are under the lockdown in most countries. And is it the case also on your side? And also another thing that I would like to hear from you is that our church, as you might be aware, is also affected by this the effects of the pandemic. And some of the measures they have taken is to actually introduce the online platform. So I want to hear your assessment of the situation. Do you think that is good enough? And are there areas in which we can improve? Because you may note that this thing, there were people we already have poor people in our church before we talk about the coronavirus. And if the situation is now affecting someone who previously had a formal job, now imagine the case for someone who was already poor before. So I want to hear your assessment. That is the church doing enough? And also the youth fellowship side, do you think we are doing enough to extend our hands to our followers? And also in terms of spreading the word, the online platform, is it enough or is it working? Your assessment of the situation and the mitigation measures our leaders have taken so
far? I would say in Sweden right now, yeah, they were quite. We don't have a lockdown per se. Okay. People are just recommended to work from home, and so which means those who can work from home are actually working from home. Borders are still open, shops are open, everything is like. Yeah, you see people moving up and about. Yes. Some of us who work in critical industries, we also go to work every day. But as I said, we just pray for God's protection and also try all the advised precautionary and take all the precautionary steps. At church, this side, there's no FC yet. There are just a few Zimbabweans, and I think I haven't seen anyone who also goes to AFC. So I attend a different church this day, and the rules that have been put in place by the government are that people gatherings are limited to a maximum of 50 people. So these days, a church, only those guys from medium, guys from sound, the praise and worship, and the pastor go to church. And I'm currently a sound technician in the church, so sometimes I go there when it's my turn to do the sound layout, connect the instruments that will be used, and be ready for live streaming, because we are also doing live streaming. And we're coming back to AFC. I would like to say I'm impressed with the response of the leadership to try to also use technology in these trying times, because right now it's difficult for people to meet or to gather together. But right now I've seen that there are sermons that are being sent on WhatsApp groups, and there is also the Zoom, AFC UK is also using Zoom to conduct services, which is something that is really good. You know, when I came to Sweden, there were times, in as much as I also enjoy going to this new church, but there were times I really missed our church. You know, churches take different approaches when preaching the word. So there were times when I actually missed our church, and I would try to search for some recorded sermons, and I usually always struggle to get anything. And right now I'm so happy that there are so many sermons that are being sent on WhatsApp, and people get to hear the word, which is something good. And I actually think even if the pandemic comes to an end, it's something that we should use. We should use technology to our advantage. Technology is not just there for maybe, I know there are some within our ranks who used to oppose the use of technology, but I think it's high time we actually do as Jesus instructed us, to be fishers of men. Because right now I know most people usually concentrate on trying to preach to those who have already decided that they want to follow Jesus. So we have been concentrating so much in preaching to people who are already in church. But actually, it should be really easy for, our focus should be mainly on fishing men that have not yet decided, or that have not yet accepted Jesus as their Lord and Savior. Just like Matthew 4, verse 19, it says, Jesus said, "Come, follow me, and I will send you out to fish for men." Even Mark 16, verse 15, it also says, "Go into the world and preach the gospel to all creations," not only members of AFC, but to all creations. So it's something that we should really consider. I'm really happy that at this time people have finally decided to actually take advantage of this technology. And there is still room for improvement, but I think as of now, I'm really impressed.
Okay, you know what, I was laughing. People like you, we try to keep away from the Bible, because I know you hijack my interview and start preaching. I don't want to, I don't want you to preach. So I'll just get down to business. Well, we want to talk about your experience from the youth ministry. Myself, I've known you. I've actually known you as a secretary. I think most of your life, in terms of youth leadership, I think you have just been a secretary. I've known you since I think I think maybe you can share more. But I think for my case, I've only known you as a secretary. But for the benefit of those who might want to know much about you, maybe if you can start at the very beginning, like your Sunday school. What are your memories from your Sunday school, and how do you compare your experience from the current setup?
Okay. before being elected into the provincial hierarchy,
Yes.
I was a chairman at branch level. My branch is tenured or DZ. I was chairman, and then at first I was secretary for something like 2 years, and then I was also chairman for 3 years. But these positions, I did held them before and during when I was elected to become when I was elected into the provincial leadership, youth leadership. So I was elected in 2008 to replace brother Lawrence Nishamba, who had been elevated to the position of international youth leader. So in 2008, that's when I became the vice secretary, and the chairman then was Brother Fidelis Mugabe, vice chairman was Brother Ramson Kuvu, secretary was Brother Joan Ben, and I was the vice secretary, and the treasurer was Sandra Mranganwa. And these guys immediately became my role models, and I did learn a lot from them, and also from the then provincial coordinator, Pastor Mshangwa.
Okay.
And Brother Ramson Kuvu was later replaced by Brother Lakim Shambi when Brother Ramson Kuvu left for Algeria to further his studies. And then in 2010, both Brother Fidelis and Brother Lakim Shambi got married. So the structure changed. The chairman became Joan Ben, and the vice was Stretch Chiluku. And then I was elevated to the position of secretary. That was in 2010. So then I was the Harare province secretary, and my vice was Brother Nat Mobako, and the treasurer was still Sandro Manganwa. In 2012, things changed. Brother John Ben remained the chairman, and the vice chairman became Brother Enoch Chapinduka, and I remained the secretary, and my vice secretary became Barnabas Makura, Brother Barnabas Makura, and then the treasurer was Sheila Torre. 2013, things changed again because in 2012, Brother John Ben was elevated to the position of international youth leader. So the chairman became Enoch Chapinduka, Brother Enoch Chapinduka, and then vice chairman was Mr. Barnabas Makurira. I remained the secretary, and my vice secretary was now Mr. Webster Gatsi, and the treasurer was Ms. Sheila Torre. 2014, things changed again because people were moving out of the youth structures, getting married mainly, and the chairman changed, and then it was now Mr. Barnabas Makurira, and the vice chairman was Mr. Shebron Usavi, and I remained the secretary. Vice secretary was Mr. Webster Gatsi, and the treasurer did not change. Then in 2014, Mr. Shebron Usavi left, and then Barnabas Makura remained the chairman, and the vice chairman, Mr. Webster Gatz, was elevated from vice secretary to vice chairman. I remained the secretary, and we had a new vice secretary, Mr. Tawanda Makina, and then the treasurer was now Tulani Mon. And in 2015, that same year, I was also elevated to the position of vice secretary in the National Youth Vice Secretary, and the International Youth Leader, Mr. Jonathan Tapa, and the then secretary was Mr. Kono Charingen. I eventually vacated both positions in 2016 when I left for Sweden. Yeah, it's kind of funny, as you say, that I remained secretary for quite a long time. And those guys like Barnabas Makurira, Webster, Gatsi, they started off being my vice secretaries, and then they eventually became chairmen. But yeah, it was more nice or more fun being the secretary because I thought it had so much to do. It required a lot of documentation, organizing, and so forth. And yeah, I enjoyed being the secretary.
I like it. You know what? I like it when you are saying that in this year or after a period of time, then we were having one person sort of graduating and then disappearing. I shall put it that way for lack of a better way, because he's married.
Yeah.
I want you to address that part. Do you feel that the current settings in terms of graduating, or in terms of moving from youth fellowship to adulthood, do you feel, as I feel, that probably there is a huge gap between being a youth member and being an adult? Because if you are married, most of your friends, like if I get married today myself, most of my friends are youth members. So how has that affected you, or how did you manage to circumvent that difficulty in your experience, that you got married and most of your friends, as you are saying, they're still in youth fellowship? How can our church work out that difficulty?
My situation was a bit different, because as it is, I'm kind of living in Sweden, which means it's a bit tricky.
Right.
But I know there were discussions along those lines. Okay, first of all, there were issues regarding the fact that just before marriage, usually ladies, the mother advisors and the pastors' wives, if I may say, they sometimes do a kitchen party, something like that, or those congregants that they do to actually teach the lady regarding what to expect in marriage and how to be a good wife. Because initially, when you're youth, there's no point in teaching girls how to some of the other nitty-gritties. There are some other nitty-gritties that they are taught. But usually, these ladies or mother advisors were complaining that most guys, when they get married, no one initiates them. We don't have these platforms as of now.
Yeah, indeed.
We don't have. So most of these guys, they just get into marriage and then they know a bit, but there are some nitty-gritties that they are not aware of. And they usually used to argue that, it's something that should be looked into. Guys also need to be taught or need to do some training so that they are well equipped and they are really ready for getting married, because there is a lot. It's a drastic change. Then coming back to young couples, yes, it's true. When you get married, most of your friends are youth. And soon after getting married, most of them start to distance themselves from you, because the center of conversations would have kind of changed, because you're now married and they're not. And in that regard, I think the onus is on us, really, for the young couples to actually come up with something, or maybe a group or a platform whereby we can actually meet and have social gatherings, and also come up with some things like some activities, and also invite the pastors and our evangelists who have been married for some time, also to here and there give us tips on how to enjoy our married life in Christ, and so that people don't have problems. In this day and age, divorce rates are on a high, and who wouldn't want to see something like that also in. It's good to really have people, to have a platform where people can actually, meet, share ideas, life ideas. These social gatherings are really very important. There is a gap. There still is once you get married, but I think the onus is on us, the young couples, to come up with something that will be of benefit to everyone.
Okay, I hear you on that point. But then there are these youth members. You know, there is a clause in our constitution which defines a youth member is an unmarried person under below the age of 30, and then you have people like myself who are 37. But
You
not yet.
should be getting married, my friend. You should be getting married soon. You won't be a youth. You won't be welcome.
Okay, but there are those people who are older than 30 years, and at the same time, we can't. They are married, so they can't fit into the into the adults or into the other arms of the church. Like they are not really. They can't fit into the men's ministry. They cannot fit into the into the men's forum or something like that. So those people, do you think that their issues are really being addressed? Because the youth fellowship is it's a huge spectrum, and it's actually combining a lot of different age groups. For example, myself, imagine having myself a 16-year-old in the same class, they are trying to teach us about social issues, even our understanding, our depth of understanding in terms of the word. It's actually different. But now we don't have those groupings which are age specific. How best do you think the issues of firstly of singles can be addressed? And also, there's also another aspect or another group of people who are divorced in our church. In as much as we don't want negative things to happen, or in as much as we want people to stick to marriages, but some things are beyond our control, and I know it's sensitive, but we do have people who might have, for some reasons, be single, not just because they have never been married, but because probably they have been married and divorced. Those people, do you feel that their issues are adequately being addressed in our church?
Okay, thank you for the questions. Okay, the first one was on the issue of age limit for youths to be 30.
Indeed.
On that one, I cannot say much on it, on that issue, because it's something that is now in the church constitution. So it's a bit controversial, not controversial per se, but I cannot really say it's good or not, because it's above me. But my personal opinion, this is my personal opinion. I would like to, or let me put it this way: I would prefer a structure whereby the decision structure is a bottom up, as compared to a top bottom decisional structure. I would prefer a scenario whereby the church leadership also includes or make some of the decisions that regards youth in consultation with the youth.
Okay.
Because right now, on paper, those guys who are 30, they are not catered for on paper. Back in the days, it was so most people would be married by 30, but these days, people are like most youths, they've developed a zeal to really pursue their academic dreams to the fullest. So you find most people, they do get their degrees and master's degrees before they get married. So like you find if you, the average age at which a person finishes the first degrees somewhere around 25, 24, 25, and maybe you do a graduate training 2 years, you are already 27, and then you start your master's, which is 2 years, and then you are 29.
Yeah.
And then with the economic hardships that most, especially when you're looking at Zimbabwe, with the current economic meta in Zimbabwe, it's not so easy to raise enough funds to get married and also to raise enough funds for the wedding.
Yeah.
So it therefore means that there is a surge in the number of people who are actually above 30 who are not married.
Yeah.
And I would think it would be a bit harsh to then say those guys, they are no longer youths, and then they don't fit in any other structure. They are not adults, okay, they are young adults, but they are not, they don't really fit into the other bracket of the married guys. And then at the same time, we tell them they are no longer welcome in the youth structures.
Yeah.
But, well, that's my personal opinion.
Okay.
I think those guys who are currently in the youth leadership may find some nice ways to approach the leadership regarding this issue. Maybe the leadership is they have something in mind. Maybe they want to separate those who are of age and have a separate group for them. Like you said, right now already there is a problem that the age spectrum of the youth is so wide.
Yeah.
We say Sunday school is below 12 years, and then from 13 to 30, they are youth. But of course, you know, a 18-year-old and a 27-year-old in the same bracket, at times it's difficult to work with such. But when it comes to big Sundays, I think it's okay. Workshops, sometimes during the workshops they do separate people with age groups so that they can actually do some teachings or trainings based on for the relevant age group, which is good. And I also think maybe we also need to have some social gatherings which have these age restrictions, something like that, where some social gatherings are only for those guys who have come out of age, and to kind of differentiate. But right now on paper, it's those guys who are not married and above 30, they are not really being catered for. That's what I think. When we come to those guys who are divorced or something like that, that one is beyond me.
No, I actually, I just thought about it that in our church, do we really have like, I don't know, we can't really say a department for like, it's like we are promoting it, but I just felt maybe it's not really working that well. But then coming back to your leadership roles, I like the point where you said that Webster Gantz was your deputy, and then he got promoted to becoming chairman. What I don't understand, and probably maybe you can share your thoughts on that one, is the selection criteria. Is it a democratic process, and is it not time now that because if you check for our church, for example, our national treasurer, I checked his qualifications. He is actually qualified. Is actually qualified and updated. Something like that. Is it not the right time? Is the time not ripen enough for us to start implementing such strategies in our structures, youth structures, to say if you want to be a treasurer, at least be doing something from that faculty or from that area of speciality. If you want a chairman, at least we don't just look at the qualities, like you are a hardworking, you are a devoted church member. I may be devoted, but I know nothing about money, about finances. I don't know. What's your opinion on
that? There are two things involved.
Okay.
Firstly, it's it's a noble idea to actually give people positions which they have qualifications for.
Okay.
Yeah, but the thing is, the selection is open to everyone, which means if you participate, because it's not like a job where you just get it because you are qualified, but there is also need. It's not easy to have these kind of positions because it means it takes like a significant amount of time from your schedule, from your personal schedule. So it's not, we may have someone who is qualified, but who is not prepared to sacrifice. Because you sacrifice a lot, you sacrifice your time, your finances, to actually, for things to really work. So if we get someone if there is someone who is qualified and who also has a burning desire to contribute to do something, then that would be good.
Okay.
But it's difficult to just appoint or to select individuals just based on academic merit. That one, it's a bit tricky. As it is right now, it's, as you said, it's kind of democrat. From what I know, every branch is a member who represents that branch, and the leaders, the youth leadership is selected from those members. Each and every year, there is a review of the committee to see if they've been performing or not, if there is need to change, something like that. And if there's someone who has a burning desire, who is also qualified, it's always open. There are always opportunities for anyone to rise up through the ranks. Okay. And on the second issue, the youth leadership, when it comes to the what they really do, there is still there's still a gap.
Okay.
Because you may be a treasurer, but or you may be a chairman, but there is still some confusion on the roles.
I have seen it as well. I have seen, and also another area of conflict that I think maybe exists is that the role of advisors and the role of the committee. I don't know if you can, maybe you can share as well on how you handled it during your time at the international level. Like I've been to so many youth conferences, international youth conferences, but the participation of the youth committee, like I've never actually seen the chairman chairing anything actually, or the treasurer like giving a report or anything. It's anything related to finance, the youth finance. I've never seen. It's always done by the advisor. So which then makes me wonder why do we even bother putting people or youth members into those positions if they don't have the capacity to do so. So I thought maybe it's because they are not qualified to do that. But as I'm learning now, there are a lot of factors involved. But during your time, how was it not an area of conflict for you?
Yeah, it was. But also the leadership feels that, for example, when it comes to, let's say, the conference, everyone, I mean, is the youth, including those in the leadership positions, should focus mainly on learning, and also acquiring all the knowledge that will be at the disposal at the conference. So they will be trying to alleviate pressure from the leaders, the youth leaders, so that they don't spend all the time running up and about, and then at the end of the day, they don't learn anything, because at the end of the day, they are still youth. They still need to learn, which is a noble idea. But also at the same time, I feel they also need to trust the youth leaders, that they can actually do some of the tasks, because maybe at the end of the day, like you said, the chairman might not even share anything.
And actually, like in this current situation, you know, I see a lot of things happening. For example, politicians, they are capitalizing on this disaster to actually, some of them are taking the lead in doing charity work and all that stuff. But I never see that coming from the youth fellowship. We were talking earlier on about the online services and stuff, and there's nothing from the youth fellowship. I am not saying they are doing. I'm not saying they are not doing their work. I'm just saying maybe they can do better. Like this online idea, it should have come actually from the youth fellowship. I mean, we are the energetic ones compared to our elders, but the opposite is actually the on the ground, that the advice, the elders are actually the ones on the forefront of advancing things like adoption of technology. Yet we are the ones, the millennials. So I feel like that the way things are being handled, or the way we have organized our structures in the youth ministry, is actually pulling the youth themselves down. Like, they are not allowed to think outside the box, because they don't share anything, because they don't even handle the matters, or the financial matters of their fellowship. It's actually limiting them, that they are no longer thinking outside the box. Because right now, the youth theme is out for 2020, but it just came as it were in the years before. But now everyone knows that we are in a lockdown. So that's why I'm asking that, is it not limiting themselves, the fact that advisors take up all the roles? If you go to a conference, you find the advisors doing everything. The best that I saw a youth member doing is acting as an MC. The other things, it's always advisors. So I think it's affecting them. I don't know, during your time, how did you do your conferences? Like, was it like, is it always been like this, or something is not working
well? During our time, well, I would like to think that, okay, at first there was a youth constitution. And in that constitution's roles of each and every person were clearly stated. The roles of a youth leader, the roles of an advisor, the roles of a youth secretary, they were clearly stated. But then that constitution was never really followed, because it was designed, or it was coined in such a way that the youth were supposed to be on the forefront, and the advisors were supposed to be advisors. But then at the end of the day, it was more like the advisors on the forefront, and then the youth maybe kind of acting and advising to say, maybe if you do it like this and so forth, which is not really how it's supposed to be. So there's usually some kind of raw conflicts, but it's expected when it's a process. I would like to say we are continuously evolving, and I think it's becoming better and better, and with time we'll get there. That's my feeling. Of course, there's still so much room for improvement. And it's not like the youths, when they say they also need to take part in some of these things, it's not like they want power per se,
Yeah.
because the current setup, we really need, or I would say the youth leaders, they really need 100% support from the church leadership. Because right now, even raising funds, it's much easier if you also get help from the church leadership, because as we just said, youth starts from the age of 18, which, and most people, those who the working class is, their age range is roughly maybe 24 to 20 or to 30, since the limit is now 30. So it's 24 to 30, but the majority, they don't go to work.
Yeah.
They need support from the church. But yeah, I think it's something that will be resolved. But yeah, as you pointed it out, as you noted, yes, the hands of the youth leadership is somewhat tied at times.
I see, I see. Indeed. And also on the role that the youth played, I noted that you were in the International Youth Administration in 2016. I think that's the same year when the draft of the 2016 constitution, I think, was made. I think what was to what extent were the youth involved in that constitution making process? That's the first thing that I would also want you to comment on. And also referring to that very same constitution, and see that at the annual general meeting of our church, there's no representation. I can put it that way, at the annual general meeting. I don't know if maybe that's the best way to do it, but I just feel that some of the issues that we really have, like there are certain issues that are lying unattended for quite a long time, like the issues of marriage certificates, this and that. Could it not be better if we could have some sort of representation at that stage, like at the annual general meetings? Like you can just say a youth chairman, or I don't know, youth committee could also attend to such a setup. Do you think that that could have a change and speed up the process of probably solving those outstanding issues of marriage certificates? If youth were to attend the AGM, do you think that that could speed up in resolving their issues?
Well, in our structure, I don't think that will be possible, or it's something that will happen. No, I don't think so, because those even those who are married, or I think the quarter meeting, only evangelists and pastors attend. So maybe the representation that we have is the youth coordinator and some advisors. But I would like to believe that it would be good if there are structures that say, if there are some things that needs to be discussed, especially things that concern youths. As I said, it's a bottom-up approach, so that it starts from the youth leadership, who represent the youths, and then present, if it's a document, or some kind of a document, to the youth coordinator, and then it's discussed in the youth wing, like from the youth coordinator, the advisors, and then the youth leadership, and then they have a point, they reach to an agreement, and then they go with that understanding to the bishop's council or to the quarter meetings, and then they represent the youth. I think it would be good, but at times, there are still some missing links. That much I can attest to it, that there are still some missing links. But as I said, I think there's so much room for improvement, and yeah, with time, everything will fall into place.
Yeah, that's nice indeed. It's just our hope that at the end there is light at the end of the tunnel. So now I now want to come to your opinion on the current youth. I've heard a lot from your experience and how you handle things during your days. How do you see the youth fellowship as of now? The way they are doing things? Are you impressed? Do you think they are taking the baton from where you left? Are you impressed with their performance? How do you see us from outside? How do you see the current youth fellowship?
Yeah, I think they're doing pretty fine.
Okay.
I'm really impressed with the way they are running things. For example, looking at Harare province, I think it's like things are improving. I did like how they did their last conference
Indeed.
because yeah, it used to be a hassle, and at the end of the day, you find much of the time was we used to have those kind of 2 days. People arriving on Friday, spend the whole day on Saturday, and then Sunday morning people leave for their homes. But then the whole of that Saturday, most of it was most of the time was taken preparing food and then distributing it. People, there was lots of hassles. But the last conference that was uh, held in Harare, it was nice. They just concentrated on starting it early on Saturday, so it was a 1 day thing, and then food they just purchased chicken in, and then everything was so smooth. So much of the time was spent on the teachings and the program. I'm sure it was followed to the dot, which is something awesome. And also, they've since pushed through the Youth for Change, which is a noble initiative. And it's something that is also in the youth curricula that as youth, we should strive to help those in need. That is true worshiping. Even in the Bible says true worshiping is, um, striving to help those in need. So I think that is good. And even the social gatherings, even though they are not yet recognized per se,
Yeah, yeah.
but I see there is an improvement because it's really good for guys to meet even when we are not really doing Bible study, but just to mix and mingle, have fun,
Yeah.
play games,
Excellent.
and just doing things, talking, getting to know each other. We have situations where someone is working at a certain place where they are in need of some um, guys with a certain profile. And then we have those guys, but we just don't know it. And those guys are jobless. They're looking for jobs, but we don't know it. We only meet at big Sundays and we do the service. And after that, people just live in a hurry and go back home. We don't have time to mix and mingle. At conferences, usually it's also pegged. There is no time to mix and mingle and how it is. And I really think it's high time we also have this kind of social gathering, especially for those young adults. Because at times I feel people are not really prepared for the outside world. Because if you look at the conferences, the security is so tight to an extent that you feel like they don't trust us. And then you wonder, but is it because they think we haven't learned anything? Because in the outside world, no one will be looking at you. There is no
Yeah,
security.
yeah,
You can do what you want.
yeah.
So you spend like 360 days in a year without anyone monitoring you, and then
Yes.
2 days at a conference, you are being policed. You can't go there. You can't do this because people are afraid that you might just do something bad, which means either it's us, the youths, who are not really showing that traits that we are now or we have learned anything. But it's good for if people could actually come to a point where they can trust us so that even as youths, we also do have an opportunity of social gatherings where people meet, even play games, or even braai, have fun. I like how they do it in South Africa. I've seen them going places, visiting places, having fun as youth. You know, youth should be something that you enjoy doing.
Yeah.
Like at times you find the numbers, they sometimes dwindle because, you know, it becomes the same old thing. People just meet, do songs, and that's it. And there's nothing, there are no other activities that people do, which is, yeah, a bit limiting.
Yeah, indeed.
So, yeah, but I think the guys, yeah, they're
Okay.
doing a fantastic job.
Okay. So it appears to me that you miss youth fellowship so much. Like what exactly do you miss most? Like if you were to be given another chance to become a youth again, what would you do differently or better as compared to the current system? If we were to give you another chance, what would you do differently?
As a youth, I don't think I would change much per se, but because I think as youth we are playing our part. I would like to think so. Or youths are playing their part. I'm no longer one. But yeah, it was fun. It was fun, especially the social gatherings. Yeah, it was so much fun. You know, meeting, just having fun, talking, and you know, just enjoying life. You know, being prepared for the outside world. It's good. It's good to have fun when you think of having fun, to actually think of your brothers in Christ and go out there and have fun. It's the ideal thing. But yeah, I know. Yeah, it will take time for people to really trust youth. But I understand where they're coming from, because there were some forces which were against the youth from the onset. So they do not want anyone to jeopardize the progress that has been made thus far. So I understand the position, but yeah, as I always say, there is much room for improvement in our youth fellowship.
Indeed. Okay. Thank you so much. That was about your experience on the youth fellowship ministry. I now want to turn your attention to your academic career. When I saw your profile, I was like, wow. I was so impressed. I was so impressed by your academic career. Maybe if we can also talk about that, and if you can also share with us how you got there, and probably a word of encouragement for those who might want to follow your footsteps as well.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I may say God has been faithful to me.
Okay.
That's one thing for sure.
Yes.
And God is good all the time.
Indeed.
My life, yeah, it has been a dream come true for me. Yeah. And in life, you can achieve almost anything if you work hard and pray hard. You have to balance the two, working hard and also praying hard. If you don't do both, it becomes difficult. I know there are some who say, yeah, in the miracle world, you can just not do anything and then pray and then boom. Yeah, it sometimes happens, yeah. But even when we look at when Israelites were promised Canaan, they were told, yeah, it's a land of milk and honey. But they still had to fight their way into the land. Yeah, they still had to fight. So, and even when they eventually managed to settle in Canaan, God did not destroy all the other tribes he had said he would destroy, because he said, I would want those who did not see all the struggle to also learn to fight, which means those tribes were left so that from time to time, they also try the Israelites, and then so that they are always prepared to fight,
Indeed.
which is the case in the real world. So, in as much as God is there to do wonders, and He always do wonders for us, we also need to do our part. We also need to, to dream big and to work towards that dream. And that is also what I've been doing. I'm not yet where I want to be, but I thank God that I'm not where I used to be.
Indeed.
God has helped me to continuously ameliorate myself, especially also, as you said, in the academic world. Yeah. I may say that it's not always easy. For example, in my case, I started my bachelor's in 2008, and the economy was not so good. And but I know I had to work at the university to make ends meet. So at the end of the day, I was paying for my fees, yes, and I was working then as a lab assistant and also as a tutor. I started working when I was in my second year. When I just started my second year, God blessed me. I passed with flying colors my first year. So I was selected to be a tutor to teach those the first years for a course in computer engineering to program.
All right. Okay.
So and I became a tutor from my second year up until third year, and I was also selected or elected to be the faculty representative. So I was the Faculty of Engineering at the University of Zimbabwe. I was the Faculty of Engineering representative. So I was at an advantage because it was easy for me to also get attachments. Because actually I was the one who was now, selecting, like, the attachment positions will come to me, and then I will do kind of a selection. And it was always easy for me to get attachment. So I managed to pay for my fees pretty well. And while I was also working, because I had a minimum of 15 hours per week I was supposed to work. And while I was working, my classmates were studying, but I still managed to pass. And on top of that, during that time, I was also secretary. As I said, it also takes time. So I was secretary. I was the faculty representatives. I also had to attend meetings because anything that involved any development to be done in the faculty also had to be present. I was also working at that time. I was trying to also to balance with my studies, and I was also like the chief organizer of sporting activities for the faculty. I was the coach, and at some time I was also a vice captain at the University of Zimbabwe for table tennis. So I was doing a lot of things. But
at the same time, you are also a youth leader in church.
Yeah. But I still graduated on top of my class, and I got a university book prize. I got a prize for being the best electrical engineering student. My project was voted the best at IEEE, not IEEE, Zimbabwe Institute for Engineers competitions, and I won some awards. And it was amazing for someone who was doing all that, and I still managed. So at times, I know there are some people who may say, right now I don't want to have another church positions because I don't have the time. I have to focus on my studies and so forth. But it's possible. I was doing a lot of things, but I still managed to pass with the first class. There were just 16 people from different programs who graduated the first class, and I was one of them. And doing all that and also working, and So it's always not so easy. I know right now the economic landscape for Zimbabwe is not so good, maybe difficult to get tuition fees and so forth, but God always has the answer. In as much as you might don't, as a youth, one should not lose heart, even if you struggle to raise funds. Just look up to the Lord, and you come up with a solution for you. God has an answer for everything. 2008, when I started, it was difficult, and I thought, how will I finish my studies? You know, things just changed. All of a sudden, we paying using Zim dollars, and then all of a sudden, it was now US dollars, and they wanted something like 400 US dollars. But yeah, God had a plan for me. So I ended up getting a job. And after that, yeah, I've continued pursuing my studies. Right now, I have 2 masters, one for a master in business administration and also a master in electric power engineering, the one which I did here in Sweden. And I'm currently employed and working here. And I think God has been faithful to me. Yeah. And it's not like I'm special, and it's not like I did anything extraordinary. No, it's just God. He has just blessed me abundantly.
Thank you so much. Personally, I'm inspired, and I'm sure your story will also inspire those who are still maybe in high school, or those who are still trying to figure out a career to choose. And I'm very certain that this will definitely inspire them. I also wanted you to say something about your experience from AFC on campus. During your days at UZ, was the AFC at UZ established? And if so, what are your memories from that year?
AFC on campus was established while we were there, yes, okay. And we had the likes of Premombano, Mr. Premombano, Mr. Chutsi, and yeah, there were quite a lot of guys that really did put a lot of effort to actually come up with that. At first, people tried to, stay away from it, or come up with reasons not to attend. You know how it is. People used to look down upon our church, thinking that guys from these apostolic sects are daft guys. They don't do much in school and so forth. And and it's also not so easy starting something. But there were those guys, and even the late Mr. Hondo. They really did a lot, and then FC on campus was established, and it was nice and really powerful. We used to meet like once a week, and also the part I usually used to like the most was that each time just before exams would go to like a prayer mountain and spend a night there praying, and so that God guides us in our exams. Like I said, being successful in life requires 2 things: praying and working hard. So do our part, work hard, and then when it's exam time, we just organize a trip, go to the mountains, spend a night there praying, and then we come, we write exams, we pass. I like I said, it's difficult to get first class degree. First class degree, it's really difficult.
Indeed.
But each and every year, we have at least one person with a first class from AFC on campus. Yeah, the guys are passing with flying colors, which is something that is really good. And right now, since we've shown that, even guys from AFC, we are not daft. We are good.
Indeed. It's actually
Yeah.
comforting to know that people like you actually manage to deal with this negative stereotyping that Mapo story,
Yeah, something like that.
and then people look down upon us. But if people can actually pass and with a story like yours, I'm sure it will definitely make a difference. Okay, as I now trying to wrap up my interview with you, Mr. Kabasa, maybe if you can just leave a few words like the advice that would want to give to the youth fellowship. Firstly, secondly, the advice to those who aspire to go to universities.
Who aspire
To go to university and also follow maybe your footsteps.
in a nutshell, I would say the sky is the limit, really. It's not easy. It's difficult, yes. But God sometimes wants it that way so that you actually appreciate that, yeah, this was God's doing. If everything is a smooth sailing, at times you feel like, it's just me who is doing things. But if you hit a brick wall and then God comes, shows you a way, you actually appreciate that, yes, this is God's doing. So people should just be prepared. Don't lose heart. When you have a dream, just go for it. If you feel like you are losing touch, just kneel down and pray and ask for God's guidance, and He will surely guide you, and you can be where you want. And on top of that, maybe I can say, when it comes to the youth fellowship, yeah, I'm impressed, and as I said, there is room for improvement, and that is like in anyone else or all companies. They all have visions. We all try to be better than what we were the previous day. So I think we should also continue on that path that we are taking. We are taking steps in the positive direction, which is good, and I really appreciate that. And yeah, we should just pray that God guides us and everything. At the end of the day, everything becomes perfect as we would want it to be. I know we still have a lot of loopholes. We still have a lot of issues that are not solved. We still have some documents which are not being followed and so forth. But yes, with time, everything will just fall into place. It's not for us, the youth, to how can I put it? Let me say, if there is something that we feel is not really addressing our issues that we currently have, yeah, we should be open enough. These are our fathers, the father advisors, they are our fathers. We should be free to have conversations with them, and we should also pray so that we also understand where they are coming from, because they know these things. They have more experience and they are much wiser than we are. I think that's all.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kabasa, and I really appreciate your time and your patience for all that drama that we went through and faced. But I'm
The
so glad
pleasure is all
that
mine.
at least we managed to do our interview with you. I really appreciate, and thank you so much for sharing with us your story. I'm sure it will inspire many of our viewers and our followers at AFC Magazine. There you heard it, guys. That was Mr. Kabasa, our guest for tonight's show, tonight's edition of One on One at the AFC Magazine. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you again in the next episode. God bless you.